Yeah. So so let's do some revision, and that way it will help you to refresh what we have done. And also I want you to do some project work, okay? Some kind of hands-on that will help you to understand the concept. So we are closer towards the training, like we are almost like towards the end of the training, and if not this week, early next week we should be able to wrap up, okay? So now, just to begin, I've divided this portion into three parts rather. Okay, the first two part is about BA. Okay, and the third part is related to BA. Okay, so third part would be like SDLC, um, like QA process, database thing. Okay, and maybe some some introduction to domain. Okay, so that part is pending. That it will do at the end. And coming back to the first two part about the BA, first part is about so we are doing end-to-end BA process. Okay, we'll be doing what is expected from BA and all that. But when you join the company, you will not be expected to work on everything. Okay, so there are few things which you should be aware of, so that in future you'll be working. Okay, and that we have discussed. So first when we started the first a couple of days, we discussed about the BA process. What are the different things that you should know? What is the process first of all in IT, and where BA comes into picture? What are requirements and things like that. Then we started getting into we started the BA process, and we started top down process. Okay, so top down process means the like first process is enterprise analysis. Okay, the enterprise analysis, as a BA you are expected to understand. Okay, so before BA comes to picture, the company management will go through the about the company's performance, right? uh, and they'll identify some areas where they want to improve. Okay, so there will be multiple areas where there will be like no company is happy with the sales, no company is happy with the productivity, right? You want to increase your sales, you want to increase your productivity, you want to increase your profitability, right? You want to increase your customer score and things like that. But you cannot focus on all the things, right? So you identify couple of areas, main areas, where you think that you need to immediately focus on, or you have like say 6, 7, 8, 10 challenges. Then which are the top 1, 2 challenges which you need to address this year, right? And others can be moved to next year. Like that's not say main concern, so you can move that to the next year. So again, there also, as a BA, you'll be asked to look at the different performance of different. So there are four main areas where, or which are actually company focuses on, and that covers almost everything. The first area is about financial position of a company, right? So your revenue, are you making enough sale? Are you making enough profit? Okay, so it's all about your financial metric. Second thing is about your internal process. Okay, so internal process means uh, do you have the or what do you call, like, can we make it more efficient? Okay, that means let's say you are manual processes and you want to automate it. There are some gaps which you want to fill it. So it's about improving the the processes that you have. Okay, so if in a bank, if you right now it's like you go and fill the manual form, and manual scrutiny happens. So you want to have a tool that will automate it. You go to hospital, they have a paper-based system where you go and fill up the form. Right? They want to automate it, right? So that paper-based method is no longer used, and you have this e thing, right? So advantage of e thing is that um, of course you are avoiding paper, but more importantly, you are able to save the record in electronic format. So if you save in paper format, it's difficult to do search. Right? You cannot search, and let's say you go to hospital after 1 month, so somebody has to manually search in bundles of files to find your file. Right? If you're an e-form, like you just say your name, phone number, or system number or whatever, they'll be able to pull out your record from the system, right? So it increases the efficiency, right? If you have efficiency is increased, of course your cost also comes down from a hospital perspective. So second thing is about the internal processes. Then third thing is about the customers. Okay, like are the customers happy with you? Are we losing more customer, less customer, right? We call them churn rate. Churn rate means customers who are leaving you. Okay, so so if you talk about software domain, of course you need to bid for a project, right? And you have to do a lot of hard work to win a project. Okay, so let's say you own the project and you deliver the software. Now once you deliver the software, they the your customer is expected to use that product for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? So when they use it for 3, 4, 5 years, they will pay you maintenance every year. Okay, I mean they have invested so thousands of dollars or maybe sometimes millions on implementing a product, so they're not going to change it immediately. They'll use it for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right? But then every year there will be some challenge, there will be some bugs, there will be some minor enhancement that they would need. So what they do, they pay maintenance. Okay, so you charge them maintenance. Now, say, and many times what happens is these companies, they will bid the project low, okay, so that they win the project, and maintenance is what they will charge higher, okay, because maintenance is a sure shot income, right? That you get it, and you say that you pay us X. Generally, it's like 20% of the total value, and they say that you pay us, and we'll take care of all your concerns. So if there is a, they have customer care. So for example, they call a customer care. They'll help you to fix the problems and things like that. So it's like a revenue stream that is freely. It'll come to you for next 4, 5 years, 6, 7 years, right? Now let's say. Uh, After a year, customer is not happy with your product, okay, and they decide to not use your product, right? So the challenge or the problem, which of course, one, reputation. Your reputation is gone, right? They think that your uh, uh, product is not good, and then they'll not come back to you. Second thing is you're losing your monthly or rather annual income, like the fixed income, which of course is a painful thing. So how do you make sure your customer is happy and they continue to pay the maintenance, right? They don't change your software. Okay, so that's what the third process is all about making your customer happy post implementation, right? Let's say you buy a car, and after buying the car you have to get it serviced, right? And so same thing happens in the car industry as well. They try to give you various schemes, make it more attractive to buy a car, because they know that once you buy the car, and when some challenge, some problems happen to the car, you will go to them, right? And then they are going to make money on that. But at the same time, your product cannot be defective, right? Because if you're spending a lot more on your maintenance, then people will not buy your car, because they'll know that, oh, this car requires so much of maintenance. So you have to balance that. Okay, you want people to use your car and then come for maintenance, but not so that not so much that it gives you a bad reputation. So the third process is all about your customer, how to make them happy. Then you have something called as customer satisfaction score, where you look at how much satisfied your customers are, and if they are like 7 or 8 or 10, it's considered as good. Anything less than 6 is like customers are not happy, right? So you want to keep a higher score. You want to have a 8, 9, 9.5 kind of thing, so that um, you get your free maintenance. Okay, and the fourth area is about your employees. Okay, so you want to maintain your employee satisfaction, you want to have your employee motivation and things like that. So these are the main four areas where companies would invest every year, right? Either they say that no, we want to invest in sales, I want sales to improve, we are losing sales. Okay, or we are losing customer, we want to improve on customer score, or we are losing employees, we want to so projects that company take up will be on on these four areas. And of course, since our study is limited to IT, we'll talk about just IT. So the problem that you have will translate into a IT solution. Okay, so the first process in BA, the first step in BA is called enterprise analysis. Okay, and you have the slides, so you can go through it. The first process is enterprise analysis. Here you identify the problem and you identify the solution at a high level. Okay, to identify the solution, you look at the solution approach, you look at the feasibility study, whether the solution that you are suggesting, is it feasible to implement or not, right? So then what are the risks that you might face while doing that? Okay, we create business case. In business case, we look at the cost and benefit. That means, to do any project, you need to spend money, right? But then how much are you getting back? Okay, how much money are you getting back from the project? So we say that we look at so every benefit that you get from the product has to convert it into dollar value, so that you can compare dollar to dollar and see that your returns or the benefit that you're going to get is 3 times, 5 times, 10 times the cost, and that becomes your uh, USP. Like, oh yeah, I'm getting 10 times, so I'm going to do this project. So that becomes the reason for you to do the project. So that's what we do at the enterprise analysis level. And at this level, you have the high level solution. What steps you need to follow. The investment that is required, and at high level, what all things you need to deliver. But when you have to deliver it, you need to talk to the customer. Okay, you need to understand each and every feature. So at the enterprise level, you're talking only to the senior management, okay, of the company. So you can have two scenarios. You can have, like, as a BA, you might be working with we call them as primary industries like banking, healthcare, where main business is not software. Okay, or you'll be working with SIs, system integrator, where their main business is IT, like TCS, Accenture, these companies. So what happens is, like, if you're working for main companies, you'll be doing the enterprise analysis for sure. Okay, after doing enterprise analysis, you will identify who is going to deliver the solution for you. Is it TCS, Wipros of the world, or is it your own? Like, even these companies will have their own IT team, right? So if it is your own IT team, then you will again perform all the activities. Okay, you will try to, help your team to tell them, requirements, exactly what needs to be built. Okay, or if you are a uh, if you are planning to do with TCS, Wipro, SIs, system integrator, then there will be a BA from their side too. Okay, uh, so the first stage, as a BA, your job was to understand the problem and understand the solution at a high level. Okay, next challenge comes in understanding the user requirement. So okay, this is the solution. So I need to, so bank, or let's say hospital. Now, hospital, the process is manual. Every time you go there, you have to fill up the form. Okay, you are not able to link which customer is where, right? So you want to, have IT software where everything is online and you track your customer, right? So that this will be decided by the top management. Okay, for whom business is more important, right? And see, it's a business and analyst, the course. It's not IT analyst. So we have to always think in terms of business. Next comes the actual development of the product, right? So before development of the product, you need to talk to the users. The users who's going to use your software. So if you talk about your hospital, it will be the nurses, it will be the receptionist, doctors, or the lab assistant. So there's people who's going to use your software and to feed in patient information. So you should talk to them what feature they need, what are the abilities, what they are doing currently. So that is called elicitation or getting the requirements. Okay, it's requirement elicitation or getting the requirements from the user. So before that, you do planning. Planning the sense, and of course, and if you go to the videos, you will find that we have discussed many techniques, and then you have presentation or the slide 2, session 2 also talks about the techniques. So we discuss about various techniques. So techniques like uh, brainstorming, focus group, benchmarking, interviewing. Okay, so and then some statistics techniques. So various techniques you will use to get the requirements from customer. The main techniques are focus group, where you bring in 4 or 5 people from the customer. You ask them the question. They're going to give their opinion. They're going to share their challenges, problems, and you hear them, and that they can translate into requirements. Or you do the interview one-on-one. Okay, or you share a survey. So let's say you have 100 workers in the factory, and you want to understand their this thing. So you cannot 100 people. You cannot talk individually. It will take you a lot of time. So you have a survey, and you send the survey questionnaire to these people, and they will fill up that surveys, and then you analyze the result and you come up with your conclusion. Or you do observation means you want to see how they are performing their job. Okay, because that job is going to be replaced by uh, I wouldn't, that replacement is not the right word. It will be supplemented by IT software, right? So you want to see what they're doing right now, so that you can automate that the process, and it will be easier for that person to handle it, easier, faster, right? So you do observation. You just go and you watch that person doing the work from morning to evening, and so you understand. So there are very techniques. So you plan like which technique you will use, whom you will talk to, how many days it will take, and then you go and do the illustration. Okay, getting the requirements. Once you have the, yeah.
We are not sharing a screen, right?
Yeah, I'm not sharing. I'm just doing the revision, right? So
Got it, yeah.
yeah. So I'm talking about everything that we have discussed so far.
Okay.
Okay. So we are. Uh, so you have the requirements at end of what you call the elicitation stage, requirement elicitation stage. So end of stage 3, you have the requirements. Okay, and this is what we have already covered till now. The next stage is the requirements that you have, and we call it as so the document that you will write. Okay, after end of illustration is called business requirement document, BRD. Okay, so first is your business case, then is your planning, which talks about what process you'll follow, whom will you talk to. Okay, and then in the requirements, this thing is in the requirement stage or illustration stage, you get to write business requirement document. A business requirement document is mostly about uh, uh, business, from business perspective, and I just shared an example earlier from a restaurant perspective, and we'll talk about it again later. I mean now, after discussing everything. So once you have done that BRDs, then comes converting those requirements that you identified in BRD, the business requirement, into technical requirements, software requirements, because, and this is the key responsibility. Okay, and this is where your interview at this stage will be focused on. They'll touch little bit of BRD. Okay, and again, depending upon the role that you're applying for, if it is mid-level, then they'll focus on BRD, but definitely on software requirements. Okay, that means like from business requirement to SRS, we call it software requirement specification. Okay, so you're converting the business language, a business requirement, to technical requirement. Technical requirement is what is understood by your technical team, right? So this process is where we are at right now, and this is very important from interview perspective. Okay, and what we have done, we have discussed about things like use cases. Okay, so how do you represent? Okay, so when you identified the business requirement, okay, then when you translate into technical requirement, it has to be complete. Okay, so when I say complete, so let's say if I'm a software developer and I read your complete document, the service document, I should understand everything about the software. I will not get a single doubt. And not today, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I'm going to show you a couple of documents. Okay, once we are done with this, how the requirements are, and you already have got those documents. You can even see your document, the documents. There's a folder called BA documents, and you can go over that. But we'll talk about it one document in detail. Okay, so when I am technical person, when I go through the document, I will get complete knowledge, complete understanding of what you expect from me, and I can start coding based on what you have written. So that's how the service documents are written. Okay, So when you explain in detail, and if you just use English language, natural language to explain, it can get confusion. It can create confusion, right? The way, see, if you write one paragraph, and see, these are not like stories. It's not like a story. It has to be like technical stuff. So when you write one paragraph, probably I can, it's easy to understand and things like that. Main thing is when you write one paragraph, the intention for which you are writing, the intention of writing and the reading, whatever I read, I should have get the same meaning, right? At the same time, if there's some other 10 people reading that account, of course there will be, many technical person. Everybody should get the same meaning from it, which is difficult, right? I mean, your English can be great, but still, it is difficult to write, everything in such a clear, nice ways, because even your English and the reader's English should also be right? Okay, so we don't trust natural language so much. So what we say is we have come up with our own notations. Okay, UML is very popular, Unified Modeling Language, and this is again important from interview perspective as well. So so what we do is we just like we do it in movies. In movie, if you have to explain, right? So in movies, if you have to show you like 2 hours or 3 hours of story, right? I create multiple scenes, right? The actor will create multiple scenes, right? Same thing in BA too. So it's called scenario design, scenario building. Okay, so as a BA, you are creating as a scenarios. Okay, you say that this is how this will be done. I'm going to take an example and I'll tell you. Okay, so you actually create scenarios. Okay, now scenario, if you again and but there's a difference between movie scenes and the work, because in movie it'll show you just one way of doing thing. Now let's say somebody calls a hero and informs about, say, a robbery in the bank, right? So it will show you only one way of doing things. Like, maybe somebody came and, physically and told hero that there's a robbery in the bank. Okay, and hero runs to whatever. But in reality, okay, the hero can, or the person who is actually supposed to save the bank, can get calls from multiple sources. Yeah, maybe one person came running, but then somebody can call, right? Or he gets email, or he is watching CCTV footage, right? So there are multiple ways the person will get information, and that's why but we have to consider everything when we are building the scenario. Okay, so what it says is first you build one scenario, okay, process, and then you keep adding these different ways that the scene can happen. Scene is same, okay. Scene is same, that patient comes into hospital, and the registration should happen at the desk, right? So now, if you talk about appointment, you can go, you can send an email, you can call them, right? Or you can walk in and take an appointment. Maybe you will get appointment after 2 hours. That's also fine for you, right? So you can take appointment, walk in, phone, email, right? So, but if you have to show that in a movie, so you have only one thing you can show. So it says create one way, and then you add, like, multiple ways. So as a developer, you first develop one way, okay, and then you add other ways of doing stuff, right? So, but ultimately you have to take care of all the possible ways, right? Otherwise your software will be incomplete. So similarly, we design scenarios, and we um, sort of developer will understand it clearly. That's the advantage of designing scenarios. And we have something called as use cases. So use cases is uh, the most important type of email diagram. Okay, here you represent each process using image, and we are going to do that. Okay, so I'll tell you an example, and then I'll whatever we have discussed till now, I'll just give an example. So let's say there's a hospital management. Okay, the hospital management, or the CIO or CEO or business officer of hospital, they see that every process is manual, and in manual process there are a lot of problems. Okay, problems like when patient comes to a hospital, you are not able to find the previous record. Okay, and problems like you came to like the patient comes and there is some allergy to that person. We'll find out. But next time when you do not have that information, you might give a medicine which is probably should not be given to the patient because of that allergy, right? It takes a lot of time to record patient information. Okay, uh, uh, so there's some challenges. So what they know that they are losing, let's say X amount of dollar every day just because of this because of manual process. Okay, and also nurses has to spend more time like writing and talking about this, uh, pulling down your past record and things like that. So what they'll say, we need a software. That's how the trigger for uh, project will start. Okay, so BA will come into picture and say that yeah, we need a software, and this software will can be designed. All the things that you do in paper can be, it's feasible, right? It can be done in using software, and blah blah blah. We will do that, and these are the benefits. You look at the long-term benefits, cost associated, and if you're happy with the cost is within what you think you can do. Of course, like when we go to shop, we look at the cost as well, right? And only when if we feel that the product has the right cost, we buy, right? And sometimes if we feel the cost is too high for a particular product, we don't buy. Okay, the same thing as a business also, they do it, and finally they say, okay, let's go ahead and do it. So the enterprise process is done. Now you are getting into the requirements. So you are going and talking to nurses, receptionists, doctors, and they will tell you that what they need. Okay, so BRD documents will have things like uh, you need a so first thing would be login. So right, so system will have login provision, right? The record should not be visible to all. So only the authorized person should be able to log in, and then you will say different types of users are nurses, receptionists, and doctors, and lab assistant, and admin, right? So and based on their role, access should be controlled, right? So receptionists should not be able to see your lab detail reports. Okay, the receptionist at the max will see when did you come last time, what your basic information, your personal information, not your medical history, medical information, right? So nurses will have little more visibility into your report. Okay. Now in paper based you cannot control all this, right? But in software you can control. So you write the requirements required by hospital, nurses, doctors. Okay, that becomes your business requirement document. Okay, so this is what the homework was. That first, think of a domain where you want to work. Okay, then think of a problem area that you want to solve. Okay, so once you have this problem area, you have the domain, then you start writing. Maybe discuss about enterprise analysis, but more focused on writing the business requirement document. Okay, so you identify the users who are going to use your software and what features they would need. So receptionists, they would need search patient, add new patient, appointment, fix appointment. Okay, there are the features required by nurses. Then patient should be able to search their own record maybe online if that's the in the scope. So in scope means is it relevant, okay, or is it relevant to your project? And if you say it is in scope, means yes. So when we do any work, right, we define the objectives. Okay, that is like scope. So when we started this training, we had a training plan, right? The which must have been shared with you. So like content or syllabus, right? Why do we define syllabus? So that we both are on same page, right? We both know what needs to be covered, right? Anything which is there in the syllabus and I don't cover, it's a the training is incomplete, correct? And if I tell something which is not there in that syllabus, it's like a time waste, right? We both want things to get completed ASAP, right? So that you know, so that you could go and look for jobs. I can have something else to be done. right? So that's why we fix those syllabus content, saying that okay, these are the things that we're going to. If you do not deliver everything, then your software, your this will be incomplete. But if you are able to deliver, that's when the product should be accepted by both customer and the user. Right? So coming to BRD again, you identify all the activities. So now patients should have access to software or not, right? That depends on the scope. When you define the enterprise analysis, you will say patient should have online access to the software, or patient will not have online access. Now, when you say patient should not have online access, then it's waste of discussion. It's a waste of time to discuss patient, making it online accessible per person per patient, because you have already decided no for whatever reason, right? So if it is decided no, you should not develop that. Okay, that's the first first thing. Then you look at the nurses. What nurses will have? So nurses should be able to enter what do you call, like, you know, uh, vital information, right? So like uh, uh, heartbeat, pulse rate, blood pressure rate, and all those are called vitals. So nurses should be able to enter vitals, right? Doctors should be able to diagnose and prescribe medicine and uh, refer for tests, things like that. Okay, so those are the features or the capabilities that doctor should be able to add. So these becomes your business requirement. Okay, so you list down in all these requirements, and it need not be in detail. Okay, it can be like each one can be a line or two or three maybe. Okay. But when you're writing the SRS document, and this is where we will see, okay, you have to write it in detail. Okay, so for now, okay, for the because if you practice, if you do, it becomes easier. You'll understand it better. So think of a domain, think of a problem, and try to play that enterprise analysis stage role. Okay, if you want to be part of it, you want to me to answer some questions, I'm going to answer you, help you to finalize the requirement, then perform the BRD document. Okay, so BRD document should be the first one document that you need to create, and then convert into SRS document. Okay, so initially you begin with just 4 or 5 requirements. Okay, business requirement. Don't go for 15, 20, because of course, for interview preparation you might have to do all these things. But for now, let's begin with small. Once you are able to get end to end, you know what how to do it, and then you can take a bigger project and you can deliver on it. Okay, so then when you talk about SRS, we talk about explanation and use cases and things like that, which we will see. So, any questions so far?
No, so far okay.
Okay, good. So think of a business problem, and then so once we finish this use cases, this thing, right? Our BA will be done. Our core BA syllabus will be done, and hoping to do it by maybe by tomorrow. That's what I expect. By tomorrow, I should be able to finish all this, and then if not tomorrow, day after, I'm going to show you a couple of examples, okay, of BRTs and SRS, okay, how it is done. Okay, once we are done with that, then we'll go into additional topics. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing additional topics are that apart from your BA, these are the other skills they expect you to have. Okay, so all these can be a separate course and altogether. Like database is a separate training itself, right? So I'm not going to get into too much of detail, but I'm going to explain you in 2 hours so that you are prepared. You know what it is at the basic level. You can even practice on your own, and you can learn that. Right? Not all job will require database knowledge. Okay, but then some jobs might ask you to have that. These days, agile process is important. So we are going to talk about agile process in detail. Okay, and how BA process gets changed because of agile. So we have two main methodology of develop. There are many, okay, but two main methodology. One is we call it waterfall model, which also call it traditional model or old model. This is how things were done in previous day, olden days. So waterfall model means what, just like water falls from high level to low level, right? Once starts falling, water cannot go back. So in waterfall model, it says that you first start with requirements, right? The phases that we've been discussing about, you
Requirement.
have to do in this order only. You cannot change the order and you cannot go back. Okay. So and the problem is like when the customer gives a requirement and when you start developing the software requirements, customer will come back to you saying that, oh, there is a problem, I want you to change the requirement, but you will say, I've already started working on this software, how can I change it, right? I've already started working on it, how do I change it? So there will be a lot of uh, problems. They'll say that I don't need the old software now. They'll say, but I have already started working on it. So I mean, so to avoid that, we have what is called as agile methodology. In agile methodology, requirements and development happens in parallel. Okay, so we'll discuss about an agile when comes agile comes. But why are we for so nice? 80 to 90% of the work today happens in agile environment, not in waterfall environment. But we are spending time to learn as a waterfall model because it's easier to understand. If I talk one thing, then go to next, then come back to previous one, then go. If I do back and forth, it becomes difficult for you to understand. So for training purpose, what we do is we follow this waterfall model because it's easy to understand. You first read one topic, get complete knowledge of that topic, then you go to next topic, and you don't have to come back. If you have done the first topic perfectly, you'll not have to come back to the previous topic, right? That's what we'll do. But then we'll see how it changes in agile. Okay, so that when you talk about agile, you'll already have the complete knowledge of BA, and there we'll see how we can change, adjust, right? So that will be again be about 1 day, 2 hours of class. So agile, database, and then one more topic is QA. So QA topic is also related to uh, uh, BA. Okay, and we'll see how it is rated, what are the different steps that they do, and how can we come into picture, right? So that will be 3 days of stuff. Okay, or maybe it can be like 1.5 hours, depending upon how fast or how many questions you ask. So, but that is for 3 days. Um, okay, and then there's some domain. Okay, if you want me to talk about some particular domain, we can talk about it. If you say, want healthcare domain, I want retail or banking or insurance. So if you tell me, and we will have some knowledge about that. Okay, but as I said, training for these things are only due to time constraint, right? We of course want to give you introduction, want to tell you, but then the real challenge uh, is like so domain. I cannot explain you all the everything in the domain in 1 hour, right? I'm going to give you the basic idea of what domain is and what within that they're expected to know that. You have to read. You have to read about domain. You have because um, for the job they would expect you to have domain knowledge. Okay, they expect you to have understanding of the software. That's the truth. So you have to work, you have to uh, um, understand the domain. Okay, and especially when you're putting in experience, right, at least 2 3 years 4 years, so you will be talking about uh, so business process, so BA process remains the same. Whether you're working for a bank, you're working for a healthcare, the process would remain same, right? But when you're explaining, just like that, when I explain, I took healthcare example. Sometimes I take banking example. Similarly, when you're answering, you have to answer in those, uh, uh, you know, uh, based on what project you are putting in, right? Domain that you're putting in, and based on that, they will help you to, or it will help you to impress your interviewer. Oh yeah, this girl knows all these things. No, she has done it, right? For that, you need to, if you have not done it, also you need to practice it so well that you need to do it at least once, so that you are confident about it. Okay, and that's what matters. The interview confidence is what matters, right? They're not going to ask you to show me the documents that you have created, right? But then the way you answer should be able to. Oh yeah, she knows that. she has done, that impression should go to the interviewer. Okay, so that's why doing it once will help you. And while we are doing all these topics, okay, like 3-4 days will be meeting extra after doing BA, is again for the same reason. In 4 days, you can parallelly you can work on the project, and if you have any doubt, you can ask me. So I'll be there additional 4 days, okay, with you, so that you can ask me anything about the BA process in doubt. And of course, after the course ends, also, if you have some question, you list down, and then you can ask me, or the LearnTech team, and we will be able to answer that. But get most of the things clear before the training ends. Okay. Okay. So this is what we've been doing so far. Now I'm going to take you through the UL diagram, the use case. I'm going to explain what use cases mean and what we are doing in use case. Okay. Now I'm opening my presentation. I'll share it in a second. Wait. So once I do this topic, and then I'm going to show you. So maybe tomorrow I'm going to show you the documents, that how documents look like. And there are some projects. There are 3-4 projects which have been done uh,
Yes.
to so that you get the understanding. But now you start thinking. You start putting in. And here, so you don't have to be fancy. Okay, it's not about being fancy. It's about getting it completely. There are some tools, okay, BA tools, which are also mentioned in the presentation, and I've been talking when in the videos. So you can of course download those tools, and most of the tools they have this 1 month of free access. So you can download, and there's some. I've given the links of documentation. You can study that. But more importantly is that you should be able to do it completely. Okay, so um, even without document, if you could write in a Word document, you could draw on paper those diagrams which I'm going to talk about. So you don't really need like, tool is not mandatory, like unlike other uh, things like development. You need a software to run your code, right? For testing, you need software to put all the information. Okay, uh, but in BA, tools will only is for efficiency. Okay, but you can do without tools, and many small companies, they work without tools only because it's easier to write in document than putting it in a tool. Okay, okay, so where am I? Getting into the folder. Any questions meanwhile? Anything that you want to ask me?
Yeah. No. Good and good.
Okay, cool. So this is your last core
Yeah.
topic in BA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one more thing, like that. Do you have any link that would give examples of all the domains, just to get some information?
Okay. So one thing is, there's this site. I'll tell you. Just note down. It's called iiba.org. Okay. Now iiba.org is one of the organization. They they work on like use cases of BA. Okay. Um, so you get to hear about different best practices and things like that, but that will not is not in the domain focus. Uh, um, Best thing is that you search in that latest challenges in healthcare domain. Okay, what are the problems faced in so and so domain? Okay, one of your colleague last time when she was showing that link, right, remember, like she was talking about the problem that she's working on.
Healthcare, I think. Health
Yeah,
insurance.
yeah, she chose healthcare, but it
Yeah.
was a site. it is a company, okay, and that company is a BA company, and they do, of course, they do BA projects. So they have mentioned some of the work they have done at a high level on the website.
Okay.
Okay, so so something like that. If you search, you like BA companies and projects done in BA, you get a list of BA companies, and they would be talking about some of the projects that they have already done, right? And that will be like one paragraph. Okay, not be they'll not share the complete information. It will be like one paragraph information.
Mhm.
So so one more thing. Okay, so one thing I missed is I always say that during you should always start looking out for job description. Don't think that after completion of the code I'll search for the job. You may not apply now, okay? If you're not confident, don't apply now, but look for the job descriptions, okay, for two reasons. First reason, you will know what type of jobs are coming in, okay, and especially in US you have location based this thing. In one location it will be mostly about, say, manufacturing related jobs. One city it will be mostly about healthcare related jobs, right, or finance related stuff. So when you look at the job description, maybe if you have, based on your constraint what you have, if you look for jobs, you will see the trend. Oh, mostly it's healthcare, okay, and so that's when you say, okay, I need to learn more about healthcare, and you start looking for like healthcare domain. If you in Google you search, and you will get, so you will focus more on healthcare, okay. You see the jobs also require database kind of knowledge. Oh, so I need to, you saw 10 JDs, and 6 of them asked for database knowledge. Also, no, so they expect to have some database knowledge as well, right? So that will help you to know what kind of jobs are there in your area, okay. And second thing why you need to do is it'll also tell you how confident, I mean, if you go through it and if you look at the job description, okay. See, there's one way to evaluate the training, whether the training that you are going through with me is beneficial to you or not. So when you look at the job description before the training, okay, and that's what I say on my first class itself, you look at the job description before the training. When you look at the job description, you you will be able to understand it only 10, 20, 30%. Okay, there's 70%, at least, you should not be able to know what it is all about. But after the training, you should know at least 90 to 95% of the things. Okay, so that's the change from 30% to 90%. The 60% improvement is the effectiveness of doing this training. Okay, so you will know. Oh yeah, learn tech helped me to get the knowledge about BA process. Okay, that's one thing. But uh, it builds your confidence. When you read JD and when you don't understand anything in JD, you're like, should I apply for this job or not? Right? And when you read the JD and you get confident. Oh yeah, I know this is user stories. This is use cases. This is requirement. This is prioritization. Right? Prioritization also you have to know how to prioritize requirement. Oh, this is illustration. I know all of these. So you get that confident, right? And you know what to refer, what how to read, and how to do more preparation for the interview. But if you feel that, oh my god, I don't know what is all this, right? Then the problem comes actually. You will lose confidence. So confident, and it also helps you to prepare for your interviews. Oh, most of the jobs are in healthcare. I need to prepare for healthcare. Oh, most of the jobs are in insurance. I have to prepare for insurance domain, right? And then Google, there are a lot of stuff for domain, and domain is very difficult to keep updated. Also, like BA practices, this be there for ages, right? Now we just have some new diagram. Like when we talk about, we'll talk about one on the UL diagram called BPMN, which is again new. So tools techniques will change, but the core process will remain same. Correct?
Mm.
So yeah. So prepare on look at download JD. You should have at least 10 JD as of, and it need not be about future. About open position. You can even look at JD for closed position because you want to see in your area, in your what do you call, like radar, right? Something which you cannot apply not that, something which you can apply. So within your city, within your this job experience level, you look at what kind of requirements are there, job descriptions are there. Okay. So and then, so you'll be confident. Oh yeah, I know all this, so I can attend the interview now. If you don't know, come back to me. So the last 3 days which I'm talking about, last 4 days, so I'm going to talk about different things, but then come back to me that sort of I've gone through this JD, I don't understand these two bullet points, can you help me to explain? Okay. That 10% which probably you may not know, you come back to me and I'll if I can, I'll explain. If not, I will prepare and then I'll explain it to you. Okay. So come back to me with job descriptions, and you can, people sometimes they share their screen and they go through, oh yeah, the each of the job descriptions. So what I suggest is that go through 10-20 job descriptions and club them all together, remove the duplicates, right? So let's say each job description will have 10 bullet points. So when you have 20, it will not be 200, but it can be like 20 job descriptions or 25 job descriptions, and those 20-25, you go through it, and if you're confident, that means you're ready to face interview. If you're not confident, we'll focus on the areas where you think that you are not confident, you need more clarity and things that we'll discuss, right? So that's another homework that you need to do. Okay. So so before we start, okay, I'll give me 5 minutes break. Okay, it's almost like 1 hour. We'll see you in 5 minutes.
I can search like job descriptions in
Yes,
Google. Just I
yes,
can search like job descriptions and I'll get all that.
yes, yes, yes. You say a business analyst open position, a business analyst positions, or a job description. If you type no, you'll get generic information,
Okay.
and generic information is not that helpful. That'll have everything, but you want to focus on specifically to your own areas, your own geography, in your own state, your own city, right? So you'll say uh, BA jobs in New York, like that. Search like that, so then you'll get. If you talk about job description, right, in the search field, then you get generic job description, generic, which
Yeah,
we are
that's
anyway
what.
doing it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
okay, sure. So give me 5 minutes. We'll see you in
Yeah.
5 minutes. Okay,
Yeah. Sure.
yeah, bye. Hello, hi. Sorry, I was on mute and
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was on mute. Okay, hey, so back now. Yeah, so diagram. So I just said right in when you are writing um SRS document, when you're converting the BRDs, business requirement to technical requirement, we do so using some techniques, some kind of diagram, some kind of notations, which will help user to understand. And we say that pictures speak louder than the word. Exactly same concept we use. We put pictures so that it conveys same meaning. If you write in natural language, the meaning can be different for you, can be different for me. When you write, you will think in a particular way and you will write, but it's not guaranteed that I'm going to understand the same way, right?
Yeah.
So we use cases. So what is use case? Use case is a formal way of representing how a business system interacts with its environment. Okay, so when you're developing a software, the solution, how will this system or the software will interact with the environment? Okay, this is what we are going to discuss as part of UL diagram. So somebody asks you what is UL diagram, you'll say it's a notation. It's notation based diagram where we depict how the system, the solution, will interact with its environment. Okay, an environment can have users like you and me, right? And it can also have other software, okay, with which it will interact. So, and a software does not only interact with human being, it will interact with hardware devices, okay. It will interact with other software. So, for example, if um, you're talking of, let's say, stick to healthcare itself. So when you do billing, right, and once the billing is done, the payment has to be done by the insurance companies, right? And there will be not 100%, some payment, some percentage will be done by the insurance companies. So your billing software, which is part of your healthcare, the hospital management software, will interact with third party. We call them clearing houses, right? So clearing houses are responsible for having the the channel between hospital as well as um the insurance companies. So these clearing houses, they will have the software have to respond to the software of this hospital, so that before patient leaves how much percentage can will be paid by the insurance companies and how much money you need to collect from the patient, right? If the 20%, 80/20, like so it'll give you. So this software will interact with another software, right? That's the interaction of environment. So it can be a software to software requirement, it could be human being. So as when you want an appointment, you book an appointment online, the system is interacting with you. So we call them as users. Okay, so users can be both system, another system, basically not the same system, because same system is system anyways. So the user of this system can be human being or another system. So here in use case is, it's a way of representing how a business system interacts with its environment, and it'll illustrate the activities that are performed by the users of the system. And we use scenario based technique, as I said, it's very similar to movie like thing, right? Scenario based technique, and we'll see what is scenario based technique in UML. A
Mhm.
sequence of actions in the system performs that yields a valuable result for a particular actor. Okay, so sequence of event which will, the users are called actors. Okay, because in scenario you have actors. Similarly, here too we call them actors. So actors are nothing but the users. Okay,
Yeah.
so a string of actions or different actions resulting for benefit of the user, right? Ultimately the user should get the result, right? So if you talk about banking or ATM use case, so when you say you need to withdraw cash, you need to go through steps.
Yeah.
Okay, one second. Okay, so as a user, you have to go through steps like uh, inserting your card, entering the pin, and then entering the amount, and then you get the cash, right?
Mm.
You are looking for scheduling appointment. So you need to schedule your appointment, so you get the appointment date and time. That's the benefit that you're going to get. You have to go through a couple of stages, ultimately resulting in benefit of the actor. So sorry, I if you if you watch my last video, okay, I gave an example of a use case. Okay, so a use case, if there's a fire in warehouse, so how will it get reported? Okay, so so same thing. So here we are going to uh, discuss like how to identify actors. Okay, so when you look at the system, okay, the solution, first thing is identify the actors who will be um, who are part of that scene. So you create that scene in your mind. It's all about future solution, right? The solution does not exist. You are predicting this. The you are predicting this the solution. So look at the actors who will be involved for each of those steps. Okay, we are so okay. So for ATM use case, what are the different actions that can be performed? Or if you have to talk about scenarios, what are the different scenarios? We call them scenarios, or different features that you need to have. So what are the different scenarios in ATM use case?
Mm, withdraw the amount. Uh,
Okay.
I mean, actors are like
No, let's forget about actors. Let's look at the the features,
okay,
or
transaction.
or we call them scenarios basically. What are
Okay,
different scenarios that can happen in used ATM at ATM?
okay. Transaction. Mm, withdraw.
Hmm.
Um,
Correct. Balance, checking the balance,
yeah, checking the balance.
right? So these are scenarios. These are different scenes, like movie scenes.
Yeah,
Okay. The first scene would be logging in your card and keying your validating the user, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you enter your ATM. So what we do is first we have to give a name to each of the scenarios.
Okay.
Every scene has a name, right? So in movies they call it scene number so and so, right? So similarly, we have to give each scene a name. So first we can say validating user, then making transactions, withdrawing cash, right? Money transfer, right? These are the use case name. Then
Oh,
you identify the actors. So in that particular scene, how many people will be involved?
mhm.
Okay. So now tell me, first scene is validating the user. Okay, where you in so description we'll talk about it later. To conduct that scene, how many actors do you need?
Validating user, we need a client like ID
User, okay.
and um, bank. No, no need of bank, right? Bank, bank manager or management.
Okay, for what purpose? So okay, okay, so okay, let's wait for some time. So you're saying you need actors like user, bank management, and what else?
I think no need of
Only
bank
two.
management. Only validating user we need to log the client, right? Validating.
Okay, so what happens here? Your ATM. See now, when you go with a card, the card will be Visa card, Mastercard, right? And even if it is like same bank, your own bank, also your branch could be in some other city, and you're trying to access ATM from some other city. Now the
Okay.
ATM will not have all the details. ATM machine will not have all the detail, all the users with all the account balance and things like that. So what happens when you insert that card into the system ATM machine will check with the bank. The message will go to the respective banks.
Okay.
Okay, so you need a bank. So when you say bank manager, probably was thinking that to validate, right? Now,
Yes.
if I, if I uh, need something from you, let's say, you- so first you need to validate, right? If I'm the right person or not, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you may not have the information with you, all the and everything. So you'll take my name and details, and you'll probably call my company and see if that person is correct or not, right? So, so in that case, of course, I'm the user, and you are the system, and then you will have the system to validate against. So ATM in ATM two, the validating process is part of the solution, right? So that is the scene. That is that. So your actors will be the user who is going to insert the card, and the bank
Yes.
software who will validate the user, and it bank will tell you the balance, right? I mean, not tell the balance. You want to know if the user can withdraw that cash or not, right? Or is the person is a valid user or not. So you enter your PIN. Based on the PIN, the ATM will check,
Okay. Okay.
right? So you have two people. Okay. Now withdraw cash.
Prakash, uh, the user and
Mm,
login, I think no need of bank management because he already checked the ATM machine already checked the bank. So withdraw need to only the user is the actor. I think.
Okay. So bank has checked whether you are a valid user or not. But but do you have the sufficient balance? If I want to withdraw $500, do you have $500 in your account or not? Right?
Yeah.
I need to check. Correct. So one thing is that $500, and second thing is that can I withdraw $500? There will be a daily limit also,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Now let's
Yeah.
say daily limit is $500, and I
Yes.
went to a ATM and withdrew $500, and then I go to next ATM,
Okay.
right? So the message should be stored in some central location that person has already withdrawn $500 and do not give more amount,
Yes.
right? So if I try to withdraw $500, it should say that you have reached your daily limit,
Yes.
even though you have not withdrawn from same ATM, right? So that information ATM has to send it to the
Bank.
bank, and then when second ATM should get that information from the bank.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, you do need bank there. So you have two actors there.
Okay.
Okay. So one is human being, other is machine, other software. So
Okay.
if it is software which is outside this software, okay, software which is not, you're not developing it. Okay, it's already been developed or somebody else is developing it, becomes an actor. Everything within the same system is not an actor. Everything within the same scene is like the scene. So it's develop a feature that you need to develop. Okay, so these are the actors. So actor, user or outside system, right? Outside system. That's what, not inside system. The system which you are working on, that one. So it could be a user, it could be a system which is beyond the system you are developing, that interacts with the system being designed. Okay, interacts with the system being designed in order to obtain some value from that interaction. Use cases describe scenarios that describe the interaction between users of the system and the system itself. So use cases are the process, or like the scene, which describes the interaction between itself and the
There.
users.
Okay.
Okay. So as I said, when say use case name, so use case like withdraw money is a use case, right? That's the scene. It's the name of the scene. Use case, and the use case will have two users, the user and the bank. So use case diagrams describe what a system does from the standpoint of an external observer. The emphasis is on what a system does rather than how. In use case, we are talking about what system does. Okay. Okay. So use case diagrams are closely connected to scenarios. So you have two things here: scenarios and use case. Okay. Now they are connected. They're connected in a way that in use case you only depict the 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 use case name and the actors. Okay. The scenario is the description of the use case, right? So when you explain what actors need to do, that will be in the scenario. So scenario and use case, they are always written together in the document, in the SRS document. Okay, and when you're doing the use case, you should not put all the use cases in same page. Okay, and we'll see how it looks like. But don't put all the diagrams on the same page. You divide it logically, right? So like, you can talk about appointments. Okay, so appointment use cases. So appointment use cases will be in one page. Don't talk about doctors related use cases or patient use cases, or you talk about lab use cases. So you can have it separately, because if you put all everything in under one use case, it becomes very difficult. Lot of actors, lot of use cases, and it may not uh, be clear for the user. There will be a lot of line crossing each other, and it will be confusing. So as much as possible, try to separate out.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and then in the scenarios you describe, just like a director would describe the scene to the actors. Similarly, you have to describe the scene to the actors in this under scenarios, and we'll see an example of both. Okay, now this is a scenario. Okay. Okay, so a patient calls the clinic to make an appointment for a yearly checkup. A receptionist finds the nearest empty time slot in the appointment book and schedules the appointment for that time slot. Okay, this is a scenario. Okay, and talking about scenarios has three parts to it. One part talks about the trigger point, which will actually trigger the scenario. Okay, what will trigger the scenario? So patient calls up for an appointment. That is the trigger point for your appointment use case or appointment scenario,
Okay.
right? So if nobody calls for appointment, this piece will never happen. It will never occur. So you need to find that trigger point. Okay, we call them a entry point, trigger point, whatever. It's all called an entry point. So entry point means this indicates entry into this particular use case. Then you'll have series of steps. Step 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So you'll be doing different steps, and you'll have something called that exit criteria
Mhm.
or exit point. So when the receptionist says yes, your appointment is confirmed, that's the end of the scenario.
Okay.
Okay, then otherwise you'll say that I can appointment at on Wednesday 5 p.m. No, we don't have time slots available. We have at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. I'm busy. Can you check on Thursday? Can you check on Friday? Right? There'll be a lot of conversations. So these are nothing but your steps within the appointment thing,
Okay.
and this will stop when you say yes, confirm. Right? So when it's confirmed, appointment, reception is confirmed, date and patient is happy. That's the end of the scenario. Till the appointment is not confirmed, the scenario is playing. Okay. Step one, identify the actors. So who are the actors here?
Patient and receptionist.
Okay. Now, I mean, you're not wrong. Okay. Patient
Okay.
receptionists are no doubt,
And
yeah, but here
patient just
patient
about.
patient enough, yeah, patient enough is sufficient. Okay. It's
Okay.
not, see, so when you talk about that ATM case, right?
Mhm.
So as a user, you key in the details. So you need user to enter card details, and
Okay.
you need bank to confirm the the transaction, right? But
Okay.
in this case, you
The
only
only.
patient,
Okay.
yeah. So just that patient is not able to enter into system, so receptionist is entering on the behalf of patient.
Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, if the system is open, patient can do it by itself. You don't need anybody to confirm. Okay,
Okay.
and so patient can enter the detail, and the confirmation to the patient will come from the internal system itself. You're not checking with the external system. Internally system will check if the doctor is free at that time or not, right? If the
Okay.
doctor So, so doctor schedule and patient schedule matches. That's when appointment is confirmed. So here you have only one actor. Okay,
If it
that's the
is not
patient.
confirms, then the receptionist, then the next act, additional receptionist will add. Is it?
No, no.
No?
See, if it is like, uh, uh, I'll just give an example. So you are booking your flight. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, all the details of the flight is generally, generally what happens when you book from airline website. Okay, not from third party website. If you're
Okay.
booking from third party website, again, they will like scanner. Again, they will check with the airline website.
Okay.
It becomes third party. Let's say you are on American Airlines website and you are trying to book an American Airlines ticket. Now, when you enter a date and and the destination, source and destination, it'll
Mm.
give you the options,
Okay.
right? So whether you do it or you call a executive to do it, it's the same matter, right? You don't need two actors there.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you
Okay.
can do it or you can call the American Airlines executive to do it for you. But it's only one way. Only it's if it is mandatory that you have to and see again calling is not part of the system. It's external. So
Okay.
for our system perspective, whether you are standing in front of a counter or you're calling or you have email does not really matter to the system.
Okay.
System, what matters is entering into the system, like your source and destination and time.
Okay.
So only that the agent is entering. An agent is not entering to for herself or himself.
Mm.
Agent is entering on your behalf, right?
Okay.
So it's like the would-be passenger, the user is entering the system. So you have only one use case. Sorry,
Okay.
you have only one actor.
Actor. Mm.
Okay, and the let's say the list of flights and the cost is given by the system itself, the airline system itself,
Mm.
right? So in that case, you have only one actor. But let's say you're talking to Skyscanner, you're searching on Skyscanner, and you give the same detail.
Mm.
So the list that is displayed is not from Skyscanner database. The
Mm.
list is from airline database,
Mhm.
right? So in that case, you have two actors.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
have you as a user, and you have the various other airlines which will give response. So you
Okay.
have two actors, right? So whether you enter or I enter
Mm.
doesn't really matter. So if receptionist is entering the time on your behalf, so receptionist becomes the user.
Okay.
Receptionist is not entering as a receptionist. Receptionist is entering as a user for you.
Okay.
So name will be your name only, right?
Mhm.
So
Mm.
that's why it's only one actor,
Okay.
not two actor. I mean, it's like the work cannot happen if if you do not have. I mean, let's say uh, it's like if reception is mandatory. Okay,
Mm. Mm.
there's receptions should. So there's one example I'll give you. Let's say there's a software. Okay, now in the software uh, there will be various other features, and as a user you do not have feature to download report. Suppose
Okay.
now when you do not have uh, uh, access to download report, right? So you call your manager, you send an email to manager. Manager will say, and you'll say that I need access to report. I need to access to download report, and it goes to manager. Manager says approved, and it goes to the administrative team, and the administration comes and approves your request, so that now you have that. So what
Download.
happens? Yeah, download access. So now if you have to represent this whole process, you will only have actor as admin and task as download report.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it. Only one actor, one, because all these things has happened outside. So it
Okay.
doesn't really matter to your system. The admin should come and approve it, right? All the rules, regulations are beyond your scope, right? Beyond your system. So you'll have only one use case saying. I mean, you'll have one use case saying uh, permit download of reports, but it will have only one user who is your admin. Now let's
Okay.
say if you have using the system only, you can raise a request.
Hmm.
Okay, so the system you say raise request, and then a request is approved of manager. So in
Hmm.
this case, you will have one use case saying raise request.
Hmm.
Okay, and this raise request which will have two actors, the associate and the manager,
Okay.
right? Now these raise
So one will
request
raise request and one will approve. So
approve exactly.
okay.
But in the previous case,
Hmm.
raise request is not part of the system, so that use case is not there at all. You only have admin saying approve. Here you'll have one use case because it's done using system, and you'll have user and the manager as a user, and then that will trigger your ability to download. So for that matter, any request you raise, it has to approve the manager. So it's not only download report, any request, raise a request and approve the request.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. So this is so step one. So actor. So like how to identify actors. So who's interested in the system? So right. So in like, again coming back to our patient example, the receptionist is not interested into the system.
Hmm.
Receptionist is only using the system because you have asked. If you have
Hmm.
not said, this person would not be interested. So that's why receptionist is not actor.
Hmm.
Where in the organization is the scenario system be used? Who will benefit from the use of the scenario? That's what patient who is going to benefit from the scenario
Hmm.
or the from the system. Who will supply the scenario system? Does one person play several different roles? Does several people the same role? Right. So I mean,
Hmm.
this is what talks about how to identify the actors.
Okay.
And actor is represented as like this.
Hmm.
Head, hand, and legs. Whether it's a human being, whether it's a hardware, whether it's a external software,
Hmm.
you know you represent them as this only. Actors are represented as a human being only, like this. That's the like stick figure of human being. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So you have that. So as you said, some use case is summary of scenarios for a single task or goal, and actor is who initiates the event.
Hmm.
Okay. And so here the actor is the patient in the example, in our example.
Hmm.
Okay. So use case is summary. So so now we have to give it a name.
Hmm.
Okay. A scene name, scenario name, a use case name. So you call it as make appointment. Now, the use case or the ability or the task that we are going to show is represent as an oval shape.
Okay.
Okay. So you have patient here as a stick figure of human being. Then you have make appointment. Make appointment is a use case within the system. So it's represented as an oval box with the name of use case in it, right? And there's a line between patient and the make appointment. We call it communication.
Hmm.
So make appointment has only one user, who is the patient. That's it. So
Okay.
patient to make appointment, there will be a line that is called as communication line. Okay. So then it talks about how to name this. It should have shorter name and should have word, noun, phrase represented by an oval. Make appointment and then user. Okay. Make appointment. That's the relationship. Okay.
Hmm.
Then you draw a boundary. The
Hmm.
red line that you see is called boundary. Boundary means the things which are inside the boundary are your system that you are supposed to develop in the system.
Okay.
Okay. Things which are outside the boundary is not your job. You are not. You need to know how the system will use. How will your system, because there's a line communication between the external world to your system.
Hmm.
So you should know how that external world will interact with your system. That's it. You are not bothered about how the external world is organized and who's going to create and what will happen.
Okay.
So you're just bothered about your own, you know, activities that you are supposed to have that as part of the solution.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is an example.
Mm.
And here we talk about appointment system. As I said, try to bring out all the related activities or the use cases together. Do not have all these use cases in single diagram.
Mm.
So in appointment system, you have three actors and three activities or use cases. So make appointment. That's what we have seen. The patient will do make appointment. Then
Mm.
you have something called record availability. The last one, doctor will record the availability, right? So before the appointment can take place, doctor will say on what time they're available, right? So let's say if doctor is on vacation on that day,
Mm.
right? So there you will say you will not release any time slot.
Okay.
Okay. So if let's say doctor is on vacation on Wednesday and I want to meet him on Wednesday, I should not be able to book an appointment for the Wednesday.
Okay.
So availability will be released by the doctor. So,
Okay.
so availability is again part of appointment system, separate use case,
Mm-hmm.
and actor is doctor.
Mm.
Then you have appointment like produce schedule information.
Mm.
Produce schedule information is an use case, and that is driven by management. So management, if they want to see which doctors are busy and how many patients are coming, I can do a print,
Mm.
direct print, and that
Mm.
print will show all the doctors and all the patient. It depends upon what kind of report you want. you know. So whether you want empty slot information or booked slot information, right? So you
Yeah.
can get it, or you can give a calendar and it'll give you the everything, free time and the book time.
Mm.
So these are some like three use cases which can be grouped as a point system. And see, this is based on the interaction between this particular BA and the business owner. Same thing can be represented in different way. Not that this is the only way to do appointment. This
Mm.
is the way that this company is doing.
Mm.
Okay, you could do it in different ways. Okay. Then there are types of relationships. So what's the time? Do we have time? Time is up. So we'll talk about this tomorrow. Okay. So anyway, like this is where we stopped last time, also last week also. So we'll talk about relationships. Okay. So important thing, work on a project, identify a project, start working, because what we are doing now is important, and that's why I wanted to repeat, because you missed few classes,
Mm.
and and does not really. Uh, it's okay. I'm going. As long as it's beneficial, I'm going to repeat it. So that's not a problem. So let's
Okay.
focus on developing this. This project, and
Mm.
start with simple ones, so that all your doubt and clarification is is done. And of course, post class also you can take a bigger project, or you can read a project. There will be thousands are already there in the internet. You can download. But let's do one with by working, by doing it. So once you
Yeah.
know the process, then you can read the use case. Don't download and just read. Okay. First you do one, and then of course you can, for reading there are hundreds of documents available. You can read.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Then we'll talk about these things tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Thanks. Bye.